Emotional intelligence plays a huge part in helping people develop healthy, satisfying marriages. So EQ is so important to our marriages because it literally helps us connect to our feelings and then to regulate our feelings and our emotions in a way that allows us to make good, healthy, intentional decisions.
And it's you and me, babe, whatever comes. Knowing bigger hands are holding ours, and the greatest days are ahead of us. Growing in love, learning to be a better us.
Hi there, so glad you've joined us for A Better Us. Welcome to our home.
Okay, so here's a fun fact. Everyone knows that Albert Einstein's IQ was off the charts high. But did you know that his EQ was actually really low? Interesting.
EQ, or emotional intelligence, is your ability to relate to people on an empathetic, relational way. And researchers have concluded that having a high EQ is just as important as having a high IQ.
On today's show, Dr. Mike is on the beach unpacking just what this means in our marriage and how having a higher EQ might not be as difficult as you think.
Also coming up, relationship researcher Shaunti Feldhahn reveals what she's discovered to be the one habit that will help you create a healthy marriage.
Sounds interesting. And all of our kitchen couples are here to give their opinions. It's gonna be good.
Stay with us.
We have all heard so much about emotional intelligence over the last several years. It's astounding. And the research is very clear at this point that emotional intelligence helps you, number one, succeed at work. Number two, succeed at school. It makes you have the ability to connect with people in a way that has tremendous impact upon your life. It's also clear that emotional intelligence plays a huge part in helping people develop healthy, satisfying marriages. So EQ is so important to our marriages because it literally helps us connect to our feelings and then to regulate our feelings and our emotions in a way that allows us to make good, healthy, intentional decisions. So let's talk for a little bit about EQ, emotional intelligence, and how we can get it. So emotional intelligence is the ability to understand and manage our own emotions in just very positive, powerful ways. And we do that so that we can relieve stress, communicate effectively, empathize with others, overcome challenges, and essentially just diffuse conflict. So you can see, man, there's a massive overlap there between those skill sets and having a happy, healthy marriage. So if you want to start to develop this, let me give you some things you can do. There's some skill sets that are just very valuable in regard to your marriage and emotional intelligence. Number one, self-management. That's a huge part of emotional intelligence. Self-management is your ability to control impulsive feelings and behavior. How many people today would say, I wish I hadn't said that? Why did I do that? Why do we always have the same argument? Well, that's because you're not managing yourself and you're not managing your own emotions and taking initiative to follow through on the very healthy behaviors that you know work. Number two, self-awareness. Sometimes we can't manage our emotions because we're not aware of our emotions. And so how are you supposed to know your strengths and your weaknesses if you're not aware of what's going on inside of you? Number three, and this is huge for marriage, emotional intelligence will give you a new social awareness. This is like people that are able to pick up on the cues, right? They can read the room. So do you have empathy? Are you able to understand like your spouse's emotions and needs and even the concerns of other people? And then number four, emotional intelligence allows you to have relationship management is what I call it. You know how to develop and maintain good relationships. You know how to communicate clearly. You know how to inspire and influence others. And these are the people that, man, you want them on your team at work. And honestly, guys, these are the people you want to be married to. Your spouse wants to be married to someone that has a high EQ. So let's look directly now at your marriage. Why is this so important to your marriage? Because ultimately it's going to help you manage stress. It's going to help you manage what goes on inside of you. The majority of arguments that you have with your spouse are due to your inability to kind of manage yourself. So if you can manage your stress, your depression, your anxiety, then you're going to allow yourself to sort of cut off these arguments at the pass. Number two, emotional intelligence helps you express how you feel and understand how other people are feeling. I mean, think about that. If you're married and you're good at articulating and getting kind of what's going on inside of you out on the table, then you're also good at like hearing someone and understanding what your spouse is saying. It's obvious that's going to help you begin to develop better skills and relationship skills in your marriage. So there's so much we could say about emotional intelligence, but I want to encourage you, if you feel like you're stuck in negative patterns and you just are not able to sort of like read the room and understand what's going on, I want to challenge you, focus on learning the skill sets of emotional intelligence, because that is your clear path to the marriage that you've always wanted.
Well, we are in the kitchen with our kitchen couples. We have Eric and Kara, and we have Mike and Diane.
All right,
and
welcome.
we love hearing from Dr. Mike on the beach, but this beach looks a little different.
Yeah, we gotta love him because we taped this actually on the beach of Lake Ontario.
Yes, we
which is
did.
really
All
neat.
right. We don't
But,
need an ocean. We have Lake Ontario.
But great topic though. Like we hear a lot about the IQ, you know, someone's emotional or intelligence quotient, but not so much about the EQ, emotional quotient or emotional intelligence. And so it's important to a marriage, he says, because someone could be like at a genius IQ in intelligence, but maybe not so bright on the EQ, right? And so it's important to really develop that, and it's something we can develop. So what were your thoughts, guys, as you listened to that?
What did you think?
Honestly, as we've been getting into these topics for the show and everything, I've come to the understanding that I don't have a very strong emotional intelligence, and
He is very smart.
and so,
Hold on, wait a minute.
but even to
His
say,
IQ's good.
even to say that like the pendulum of my emotions doesn't actually swing out too far either way. I feel like I don't really have, I don't express my emotions as much as I could, and there's a whole depth of connection that I could be experiencing with my wife if I were to become a little more emotionally aware. And so this is a good challenge for me, definitely.
It's true. The beautiful thing about that is he's very steady Eddie. Like, you're not going to get a very strong reaction from him, and you're not going to get a very weak reaction. It's just basically going to be steady Eddie. But I found with what Dr. Mike was teaching us about self-management, I think there's seasons in our lives where that can be very, very hard for one spouse. And so in some seasons, I think that the other spouse, this is why it's important to really focus on this in your marriage. For an example, we have 3 babies, and during mat leave, self-management for me is not always easy. It's not always easy to regulate where I'm feeling, where I'm going, my emotions. I'm overwhelmed. We have a new baby. We're trying to keep someone alive, and
You're doing a good job at it.
Thank you. And so I just find that in those seasons when I don't know how to communicate where I am, I need Eric's social awareness to be at its highest, because I can't always say, Eric, here's where I'm at in this moment. Normally it's just tears because I'm just overwhelmed. And so I think this is so important in marriages, because there are seasons where you're not able to self-regulate. And so if you're both working towards that, at least the other person might be able to speak into it.
So what I hear you saying is it's actually the empathy part of the emotional intelligence that really you need in those really stressful times. You need Eric to be able to empathize with you and say, okay, I can see where she's coming from, and she doesn't even need to tell me. I'm going to take all the babies and I'm going to say, you go and just veg. Don't even think about it.
I'm going to write that down.
But empathy is so important in marriage, right, guys?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It is, and this is like really complicated. Self-management, relationship management, self-awareness, the new social awareness, all these different concepts and ideas. And for me, it's actually making the complicated simple, right? And so when I think of this, I think of love as just saying you before me, right? And when I think of her first before me, I have much fewer problems, much fewer challenges, and I can stay focused and keep that base and keep moving. And I really believe that sometimes we can create the confusion, right? And it's difficult. Life is a challenge. It's difficult, but sometimes I think when we get to that point, if we can keep it simple and say you before me, and so and if I can think of her and how I can best support her, represent her, whatever that is, I think we've got all the terminologies and all the different things are really great at identifying and helping us. But if we can keep things simple, I think we've got a chance.
That's good.
Yeah, and like Kara said, I think it's important that our partner understands where we are, right? Because my EQ is pretty high sometimes.
I wonder if that's a thing with women. If women are more emotionally intelligent than, I don't know, maybe that's generalizing too much.
Right,
but
and I need
hear
you
what
to
you're
know
saying.
that I'm going through something.
Exactly.
Read the room.
It's
Read
not
the
general.
room.
You're right. You're right.
It's like, can you read the room right now? This is what I need from you. Don't you know that?
Yeah.
Right? So, and a lot of times our spouses, they struggle with that part, right? And it's our responsibility to help them to understand where we are so that they can help us.
And Anne is definitely stronger in the emotional intelligence than I am. And Eric, I relate with you. But I can be clueless sometimes, and she's saying, well, I don't know, I think so-and-so is feeling this, if you're reading the room, but I'm not. I'll just wait for the movie. but according to Dr. Mike, though, it can be learned, that emotional intelligence. You can just kind of do things that say, okay, now take a moment and pause and try to think, now, how is this maybe making someone else feel? And so that's,
Yeah, I read somewhere that emotional intelligence grows through perception. So just as everyone is saying, read the room, like watch, be a student of your spouse and really get to learn their weaknesses and their stresses and what makes them smile and what makes them stressed out and really be a student of them, and then your emotional intelligence will grow.
all right. And so this has been good. I think we read the kitchen pretty good.
I think we did.
All right, stay with us.
Yeah.
More Better Us coming up.
This is something that any counselor can tell you, and we saw this in our research as well, which is that there are a lot of little things that matter that we don't necessarily realize. And the top one for all of the couples in our research is that these happiest couples, the one most important thing they're doing differently from everybody else is that.
Hi, Ron and Ann here, and thank you for your interest in A Better Us.
Today, more than ever, we all agree there's a vital need to protect and strengthen marriages and families.
That's our goal through our A Better Us media ministry, live events, quality resources, and personal marriage coaching.
We want to inspire and equip couples everywhere toward a healthy, Christ-centered marriage.
A Better Us is a production of a nonprofit charity that we lead, and as we all know, it takes a team to get the job done.
And we need you to be a part of our team in order to sustain and grow this ministry.
The best way you can help us is by joining our monthly partnership program.
$35 a month will make a big difference in providing hope for many marriages. Simply visit abetterus.tv today and click donate.
Yeah. And when you sign up monthly, we'll send you 2 of our A Better Us coffee mugs to say thanks.
Most of all, you'll have the satisfaction of knowing that your investment is strengthening marriages and families around the world.
Thank you so much.
So, Shaunti, sometimes I know you do a lot of media with all of your research, and we always like to know what's at the top of the list. What's the one thing I can do right now that's going to really move that proverbial needle? And so what's your answer to that when it comes to helping us be good friends in marriage and have the kind of relationship that we want? What's the one thing that tops your list?
Well, this is something that any counselor can tell you, and we saw this in our research as well, which is that there are a lot of little things that matter that we don't necessarily realize. And the top one for all of the couples in our research is that these happiest couples, the one most important thing they're doing differently from everybody else is that they're believing the best of their spouse's intentions towards them, even when they're legitimately hurt.
I love that. And I've
Yeah.
seen your research on this. This is life-changing for couples. It's really giving, another way to say it is giving your spouse the benefit of the doubt.
Yes. Yeah, great. Colloquial way of putting it. It is natural in our sort of normal tendencies. It is very natural when, like, if Jeff does something that hurts my feelings, there's kind of this subconscious feeling like, ow, and this feeling like he knew how that would make me feel and he said it anyway. Like, and I'm believing by thinking that, I'm believing he doesn't care about me. And a guy might sometimes think what we often hear from guys is like, look, I love my wife, but nothing I do is ever good enough for her. And it's kind of that, ow, she doesn't appreciate me. And what we found is that that is actually statistically the furthest thing from the truth. In the vast majority of marriages, even the most distressed ones, we really care about each other, but we like hurt each other's feelings sometimes. Nobody's perfect. We do things that cause conflict. And instead, what the happiest couples did, they still had the ow, right? But they went, no, I know my husband loves me. I know my wife appreciates me. So they must not have known how this would make me feel, or they wouldn't have said it. And that one thing, as you pointed out, is life-changing.
You know, there's a comedian, I think it's Brian Regan, who does this whole bit on airlines when you're waiting for the air. You know, the person gets on the thing and said, we're going to board, you know, section A. And as it goes through the wire and comes out the speaker, it says, everybody rush the door as fast as possible, right? And we do the same thing in our marriage because we're thinking that really the worst. It's our natural human tendency to think the worst. What you just said, we're going to interpret it in the worst way possible. And you're saying, no, the happiest couples are those that when it comes through the wires and out the speaker go, let me make sure I'm understanding that accurately because I think I'm going to jump to some bad conclusions if I don't.
Yes, exactly. Because it's not necessarily automatic. It can become more automatic as you force yourself to do this and then go, oh, that was true. But you have to actually take those thoughts captive, right? You actually have to go, no, there's another explanation for this. Always ask yourself, what is a more generous explanation for this? Because that is almost always the truth. We found even in the most distressed marriages, the ones that were the lowest end of the scale, closest to divorce, 97 point something% of people deeply still cared about their spouse. And in normal marriages, it's almost 100%. So seriously, this is not wishful thinking. This is how your spouse feels about you.
I love it. The one thing we can do, not necessarily easy all the time, but that one thing, if we do that, it can make a world of difference. Thanks so much.
Welcome to our kitchen. Great to be right here in our home, honey, with our good buddies.
Our kitchen couples.
Our kitchen couples.
All right.
We got Mike and Diane.
Yeah.
And Dan and Danielle.
All right. So Shaunti Feldhahn, I think she's onto something here. One habit that can make a big difference in our marriages.
And she does a lot of research.
She does. She's written lots of books, and this is her life, is researching. Wow. And so, but choosing to believe the best about your spouse, even if they say something that hurts your feelings. Because you know what, girls, I don't know if it's a woman thing or maybe it's a everybody thing, but our inner dialogue can have a mind of its own if we think that the motives behind what was said were not good, and we just go down that rabbit trail. I don't know, do you do that?
A time or two, maybe. I have. But, okay, so this is going to sound dramatic, but I think it's true that our mind is the most powerful weapon we have in marriage, either for good or bad. And that's why we have to live with positive intent, which I'm 100% on board with Shaunti here. Like this can revolutionize everything because we tend to find what we're looking for. So I'm gonna do a quick experiment with you all. For 3 seconds, look around everything red in the room. Try to find everything red. Okay? Found one. Okay, close your eyes. Now tell me where everything blue is.
Oh dear.
Exactly. Harder to find because you weren't looking for it.
You were looking for red.
But it doesn't mean that the blue's not in the room. We tend to find what we are looking for, so we have to look for the good in each other.
Yeah, it's called confirmation bias, something we've been actually learning about. I've been doing some research and learning about in the last little bit, confirmation bias. And that it's that your brain is searching for evidence to prove your hypothesis. So whatever hypothesis, whatever thought process you bring to the table, your brain is looking for evidence to prove it true. That's why you tend to find what you're looking for. So if you're coming to the table thinking negatively about your spouse, my spouse is so lazy, my spouse is so uncaring, whatever, you'll find things and you'll interpret that your way and you'll be like, aha, see, I knew it. See, they're so that and they're so that. And so what she's talking about is the opposite of that, is giving them the benefit of the doubt and thinking, I love her wording, a more generous explanation, right? And assuming the best of them. The Gottmans did research on this, and they showed that the couples who approach each other with a negative mindset, thinking negatively, assuming negatively about them, they saw all the negative things that happened. They saw some things that were actually neutral, and they interpreted them as negative, and they missed everything that was good. They missed all the blue, because they were assuming the worst. And we can flip that on its head, give them the benefit of the doubt, catch all the good things, and miss some of the bad things, and it's going to make everything better.
Wow, that is so good. That's really good.
Come on now, teach, teacher.
That's right. Yeah.
I'm listening. Okay.
In marriage, it is so fundamentally important to start with respect, right? And it is absolutely disrespectful, right, to assume the bad rather than the good. And so that old song, R-E-S-P-E-C-T, so for me, ultimately, right, it starts with respect. And we have to check that barometer, right? So every day before you go to bed, ask yourself, did I respect my spouse today, right? And give yourself a grade, and at the after you grade yourself, then there's some actions that should follow.
What is one thing that you do, Dan, for a healthy marriage?
One thing I do for a healthy marriage, nothing like putting me on the spot. I try to compliment my wife often. Well, instead of calling her a name, I'll call her pretty, hi pretty, or something like that.
What about you, Daniel?
I scratch his feet.
Okay.
He loves a good foot scratch.
Yeah.
It's important that we have that list, right? Pray together, compliment one another, go to bed together. Like a lot of people go to bed at a different time. For some people, they need that, like go to bed at the same time. Honey?
Yes.
Listen to one another. That spiritual connection. Those things are important for a healthy marriage. And the other thing is, give your spouse the right to be wrong sometimes. Like, give them that grace. That is so important in a healthy marriage.
Because that's kind of giving them the benefit of the doubt as well, that, okay, maybe they did something I'm not that happy about, but I know he or she loves me. You know, I know that they're still, we're one, and it's
that
just...
their motives weren't necessarily bad.
Right.
Yeah.
It's just maybe they just weren't thinking when they said something. Because I know that you have some research as well.
Yeah,
about your
well,
thoughts.
I came across this. The National Science Foundation in the U.S. funded a study that concluded that the average person has 50,000 thoughts per day, okay? And it could be, you know, anything when you think about just going through your day, turn left or right, you know. There's 50,000 thoughts, but 75% of the thoughts are negative in nature for most people.
75%.
75% of the thoughts that are going through their mind.
But
and
listen to
of
this.
those negative thoughts, of that 75%, the negative thoughts, 90% are repetitive.
Interesting.
Like that tape recorder that keeps going. And so if you think about this in terms of thoughts toward your spouse, if a lot of them are negative and repetitive, that's the kind of the tape recorder that's going in your mind constantly, that's characterizing your spouse in your heart and mind.
You're digging a trench in your thought process, that you're just staying in there, and then negativity just goes deeper and deeper. And I was talking to a young girl recently, and she said, I'm just so super sensitive. I just can't help it. I just am. And so things offend her so easily. And so it's just getting out of that mindset, identifying it, deliberately saying, okay, I don't want to stay this way anymore, and then finding ways to not be that way. Like, change your thought process. Don't immediately go down to the deep dive of negativity, but to find a different way to think about it, like Shaunti said.
Yeah, words matter. Speak positive.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's also, it takes work to develop those new grooves in our brain and everything. But that's where also a personal relationship with Jesus can make such a big difference, in the Holy Spirit's work in our hearts and helping us.
We can't do it on our own.
Yeah, because
we just can't.
Our tendency is to think negative, but with God's help and with just determination to focus on the right things and give the benefit of the doubt, we can do it, and we can become a better us.
That's right.
Yeah. Good stuff, guys. Thanks so much. And stay with us, because there's more to come.
Absolutely.
Hey friends, Ron and Ann Maines here, and we are so glad you're with us here on our A Better Us YouTube channel.
And we pray God's blessing on your marriage as you take this in.
And be sure to hit that subscribe button if you haven't already.
And enjoy this video. Today's program had a lot to do with how we relate to each other on an emotional level.
It's not something we usually think about, right? But having a healthy emotional intelligence goes a long way towards feeling close as a couple.
And if that kind of worries you because you know you're not that great at it, the good news is, as Dr. Mike said, emotional intelligence can be learned.
As Ann said in the kitchen, be a student of your spouse. Make it a point to dial into her words, her feelings, her unspoken cues. And when she sees that you're really trying and your empathy muscles are getting stronger, your connection as a couple will definitely get stronger too.
And I love what Shaunti said about believing the best about each other, because our minds can be a breeding ground for negativity and bitterness. And perhaps a lot of it is based on something completely unfounded. We have to get out of the ruts of negative thought patterns. Our lives would be so much better if we do.
Maybe you're thinking that this all makes sense, but where do I start? We'd like to suggest that you start with God, the one who loves you and knows you best. Invite Him into your marriage and ask for His wisdom and strength to change the way you think, and even to see your spouse through His eyes.
Maybe asking God for help is new to you. If so, why not give our 24/7 prayer line a call? The number is on your screen, and it will connect you with a caring person who would love to help you get that conversation going with God. And we also have some marriage resources available for you at our website as well.
Well, thanks again for joining us, and remember, with God, there is always hope to become a better us. Hey friends, we really hope you're enjoying the marriage conversations here on our A Better Us YouTube channel.
We have hundreds of more helpful marriage videos designed to give you hope and tools to make your marriage even better.
Right. And you can see just a few options we think you might like here and here. So keep exploring.
Oh, and make sure you subscribe by clicking here so you don't miss out on all the great marriage help we have coming your way all the time.